Welcome to the Pod-Key summary of what's new in Wallet from WWDC 2026. Apple's giving Wallet passes a pretty meaningful upgrade in iOS 27, and a lot of it comes down to making passes look better, work more flexibly, and get built with a lot less friction. The big pieces are a new visual style called Poster Generic, more barcode options with smarter fallback planning, featured actions that people can actually tap, and a new toolchain that goes from design mockup to sign pass much more cleanly. And under all of that, there's a very practical theme here. Make the shiny new stuff work without stranding anybody on older iPhones. The headline visual change is Poster Generic, a new pass style aimed at things like membership cards, loyalty passes, and really any pass where you want bold artwork to do most of the talking. Instead of the usual more utilitarian generic look, this one is built around a big background image, plus a primary logo, a header, a primary field, and a single footer field. That single footer detail matters more than it sounds, because if you provide more than one footer field, only the first one shows up. So this style is clearly pushing designers toward a cleaner, more intentional layout, where you pick the one thing that deserves that bottom spot and let the artwork carry the rest. There are also some nice little design tricks baked into this style. If you leave off the label on the first primary field, Wallet automatically turns that field's value into a bold title, which gives you a much stronger visual hierarchy right away. And since you only get one visible footer field, that's where you'd usually put the most important supporting text, something like the business name. Even the barcode choice can affect the look. Apple points out that a narrower format like PDF 417 can fit more gracefully on the pass while still staying scannable, which is one of those small decisions that makes the whole thing feel less cramped. On the barcode side, iOS 27 adds 4 new formats: EN13, Code 39, Codabar, and ITF. Developers access those through the same standard barcode object and barcodes array in pass.json, so the structure stays familiar even though the menu gets bigger. The catch is compatibility. Older iOS versions can't render these new formats, so you can't just swap them in and assume everything's fine. Apple's recommendation is to use an ordered array of barcodes with your preferred format first and then older fallback formats after that, so there's always something the device can display and a scanner can read. This is one of those unglamorous details that saves real-world headaches. If a pass only has one of the new barcode types and there's no legacy fallback, older devices may leave the user standing there with a perfectly valid pass and nothing scannable on screen, which is not a fun interaction for anybody. And if you truly can only provide a new barcode format, Apple says to put the credential ID somewhere visible on the pass and make sure frontline staff are trained to enter it manually. It's a simple reminder that pass design is never just about visuals. It's also about what happens when the line is long and the scanner decides to have feelings. Another new piece is the Featured Actions API, which lets developers attach up to 2 featured actions to any pass style. These live in a top-level featured actions array, and each one has an identifier, an action type, and a value, like a URL. In Wallet, those actions show up below the pass, with a colorful icon and a localized call to action. So instead of the pass just sitting there, it can nudge people towards something useful. Apple's example is something like membership benefits, where tapping could open offers, benefits, schedules, or whatever makes the pass more than a static card. And Apple's guidance here is pretty sensible. Only include the most meaningful actions in priority order, so the interface stays focused instead of turning into a tiny App Store shelf. The developer workflow is getting a real quality of life update too, starting with a new macOS app called Pass Designer. This is a WYSIWYG editor, so designers can preview passes exactly as they'll appear on iOS while configuring identity, signing, style, images, barcodes, fields, and semantics in real time. That matters because Wallet passes have always had a little bit of invisible plumbing to them, and this gives teams a much more direct visual way to shape the final result. Pass Designer saves everything as a .pk pass template file, which can then be handed off for large-scale personalization later. That handoff is where Pass Builder comes in. Pass Builder is a Swift-on-server package that runs on both Mac and Linux, and it gives developers a type-safe way to load a template, set field values, swap in background images, define barcodes, add featured actions, and build the final pass. The signing step, which has traditionally been one of the more fussy parts of the process, is also wrapped up here. Normally, you'd need to generate a manifest, create a detached signature using the pass certificate and the WWWR intermediate certificate, and then compress the bundle into a .pk pass file. Pass Builder automates that workflow through Pass Signer, which is the kind of improvement that probably won't make it into marketing posters, but developers will absolutely feel it. What's especially practical is that Apple isn't keeping this locked inside a Swift-only bubble. With Swift Java, developers can generate native Java bindings for the Pass Builder API, which means Java applications can build and sign passes without teams having to start writing Swift just to get through the door. Apple's also providing protobuf definitions for the pass package format, so developers in basically any language can create type-safe pass models and then use the BuildPass CLI for personalization and signing. That's a pretty clear signal that Apple wants pass creation to fit into real production systems, not just tidy demo projects. If you're trying to do this well across old and new devices, the recommendations are pretty straightforward. For visuals, include both the existing generic style key and the new poster generic key in the same pass bundle, so iOS 26 and earlier can fall back to the older layout while iOS 27 gets the richer one. For barcodes, provide an ordered array that mixes the new formats with legacy options, so scanning still works, no matter what version of iOS the customer is holding. And for featured actions, keep it to one or two that actually matter, because a cleaner pass almost always beats a busier one. Taken together, that's really the tone of this whole update. More expressive design, more capability, but with a steady insistence on graceful fallback. So if you work with wallet passes, this is one of those updates that touches both the front of the house and the back of the house at the same time. The passes can look better, do more, and get built with less duct tape as long as you remember that compatibility is part of the design. And honestly, any platform change that makes life easier for both designers and whoever's stuck troubleshooting barcode scans at a counter feels like a pretty decent week. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.